All right, today we're talking about why does it take so long to get results with SEO? So we're going to talk through it as I'd explain it to my 7 to 9 year old. And the way I would equate this, the best way to think about it is it does take time, but when you're thinking about getting results, the question really becomes what results are you talking about? So you create a piece of content and it gets indexed. So you've taken that seed and you've planted it, and then it starts growing. So you start getting indexed by Google, and then you start to see some leads on there, and now you're ranking, whether you're ranking super, at position 80, or you're where you want to be at number one, right? Then you start getting traffic, and now you can really see this plant starting to grow. And then you're getting leads, and now you're really starting to see some flowering happening. And ultimately, what we're going for is you planted this thing so you could have some food, or in this case, oranges on your tree, right? So, all the way from index to revenue, there's a lot of different steps, and what would be classified as results would be different for different people. So, you say, why does it take so long to get revenue? Well, it's because it takes a long time to get something all the way to the stage where it's blossoming and bearing fruit. And there's a lot that can go wrong along the way, right? So you might get all the way to this flowering, and then you just don't really get good fruit, right? Or you might get here where it's growing and it just won't flower. There's a lot of things that can go wrong along the way. So let's kind of talk about how can you make it take less time. All right. So the first thing is a good foundation. There's kind of two approaches you could take here. You could just take seeds and just chuck them out into the yard and see what happens. Um, it might work. You might grow stuff. You might get really lucky and hit on a topic that someone loves. It hits well. You happen to just write it in a really good way that follows all the SEO stuff. That's going to be just chucking a seed out there into some rocky ground, and somehow it starts growing. Um, if you're throwing weeds out there, which nobody wants, all right, but they'll grow pretty much anywhere. That's going to be you're writing about topics nobody's searching for, nobody's trying to rank for, but you can rank for it. Just no one's going to really want that content, just like a weed. Now, if you want to grow something that takes years and years and years, something that's very difficult, or in SEO, we call this having a really high keyword difficulty, you're going to need to do a lot more than just chuck seeds out there. So you can see on the right here, we have a really good content strategy, right? So a lot of planning was involved here. It's not like someone just chose a bunch of random topics or seeds in this case. They chose cabbage, and they chose carrots, and they chose tomatoes, and they knew how much distance they needed between them. They knew how much sunlight, how much water, planted the right things together, because obviously if one needs a lot of shade and one needs a lot of sun, you wouldn't want to plant them in the same spot, right? So there's a very strategic approach that's going to go into creating a great garden. If you want to bear a lot of fruit, you want to be able to rank for a lot of different topics. So we kind of group these different types of plants into different topics, right? And deciding what we can plant and what we shouldn't plant in those different garden boxes. Another way you can make sure that you have success quickly is plant what you know. If you've grown corn the last 10 years in a row, you probably have gotten a really good sense of how to grow corn, how much light, how much fertilizer, when to plant it. Is the first frost going to kill it? Same thing with content. If you've written about a specific area, if you know your personas really well, and you've had success previously in this area, it's going to be a lot easier to write content also in that area. Okay, so sticking with what you know is going to help a lot. Another piece is, a lot of times people are focused on content and starting from just that seed, the very beginning for the first time, but you have a lot of content that's already growing and stuff that maybe you haven't been able to get to flower. Maybe it's been able to get flower, but not to fruit. You've got the traffic, you've got the leads, it's just not converting. Well, focus on those. You're already getting past some of the hardest stages, which is getting it to sprout and starting to thrive. And so you can really nurture those up from position maybe 10, 12, all the way up to position 2, 3, where it actually is bearing fruit, right? So focusing on those. Another is writing about content that's related to other content, which in gardening is called companion planting. If you've planted carrots, you might want to try growing garden peas, because they're really related, and they help each other out. Just like this is internal linking in SEO, which is you've written about one topic, it's very much related to this other topic. You can now internally link them and have a much better chance of both of those being successful because they have a bit of a symbiotic relationship. I'm going to move my face here. And the last tip would be hire a professional. We've got Martha Stewart over here, probably in her prison garden, growing some lovely tomatoes. And if you hire a pro, someone who's done it many, many times, they're going to know what to look out for, what diseases can be on the plant, when might be the best time of year, the exact date that you might want to plant things. Again, what's going to be complementary, and they can get you there much faster. It'll be more costly, but again, there's tips that you can learn from these professionals that then as you start working into your gardening, you can start to incorporate. And that's it. That's why SEO takes time and a few things that you can do to speed it up.